Hello, fellow detectives. Welcome to Unlocked, the official podcast for all things Nancy Drew by Her Interactive. I am your host, Tammy Tuckey, and this week we welcome voiceover artist Jason Sharp to the show. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Tammy. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you. You know, you've done a lot in the voiceover industry, so what was your initial voiceover gig, the first one that you got that kind of turned you on into the industry itself?
Funny you should ask me that, because it was actually Nancy Drew
Oh my
Train to Blue Moon Canyon. So I did Old Timer and I did, I think, the Train Conductor. They were both characters that didn't have faces. You heard them through either the phone or you were in the diner at the end of the game making burgers, and you hear the Old Timer telling a story the whole time. So yeah, that was my first game.
Oh, wow. So how were you introduced to that? Was it an agent who sent you the call-out request, or? Oh,
actually, I had recently moved to Seattle, and I was just getting started doing some theater, and I was working on a non-union theater show. It was a crazy comedy called The Exorcist the Musical. So you can imagine the kind of show this was. And I was playing 3 different parts. And one of the actresses co-starring with me, Sarah Papineau, happened to be working on Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon, voicing the character of Laurie Gerard. And so she had invited Anne Ludwig to come see the show. And one of these characters I played was this crazy detective character. And he kind of had an old-timer voice, and he was a little weird and eccentric. And she picked up on that, and she wanted me for the old-timers, so she cast me in that as my first.
So that was the first gig. So what were your initial reactions and thoughts to that game process? Because, initially I hear that you don't get the entire script. You just get your side.
Yeah, for me, I was already used to playing a lot of ensemble roles and doing quick changes and stuff. So to come in and to be able to play multiple characters was exciting right off the bat. But like you said, I just got the copy for my characters. And we went into the recording session, and it was like a 2 to 3 hour recording session. And we just played, we got to play with all those characters. And it was exciting and exhilarating to be able to have the opportunity to show a range of characters and voices, and to be given the opportunity to play characters that, looking at me, I would not look like an old timer, but to be able to go there in the voice and just play that, it's really fun. I know I wanted to get into voiceover acting long before I did. And growing up, we didn't have television, and so I would check out video or audio tapes from the library, and I got hooked on Monty Python comedy albums, and then I would try to replicate those at home on my own cassette recorder, really, really bad dialects and stuff. And I still put on my resume that I do Monty Python British dialect that's firmly ingrained in my head. But yeah, that's what got me started and interested in voiceover acting. And when those opportunities started to come, starting with Nancy Drew, I just jumped on it.
So what was it like to play the game and then hear your voice inside the game?
It's a crazy kind of experience, because you speak and you hear your own vibrations. So when you hear yourself recorded, you don't really have the same vibrations going on in your head. So it sounds slightly different to you. But because I'm doing character voices anyway, it's kind of fun. It's fun to hear myself in different contexts like that. I always have a little bit of self-criticism for whatever I do. We want to become better and always be growing in that regard. But for the most part, I let myself enjoy it. I can't go back and change anything once it's recorded and done and edited. So I just try to relax and enjoy it for the most part. Yeah.
So did you do anything in between Blue Moon Canyon and Crystal Skull? Or was it or did you just jump right into Crystal Skull?
No, so I did not work on Crystal Skull until, let's see, we did, I think Blue Moon Canyon was 2005 and Crystal Skull was 2007. In between, I worked on a couple of Starbucks commercials that got me into the union. And then I did some local stuff for Microsoft. I mean, in Seattle, you've got big corporations like Microsoft, Starbucks, T-Mobile, Expedia, Amazon, of course. And then a lot of local businesses as well, like Boeing Employee Credit Union, BECU. So lots of training voiceover podcasts as well as radio commercials, and no other games, though. Interestingly, I've certainly auditioned for other voiceover jobs for games, and have not landed another game just yet. Nancy Drew is the only game I have, to my credit.
What was the call for Legend of the Crystal Skull? What was what you saw in the sides that a lot of that they had listed that you thought, oh, maybe this character, I connect with that character more? Yeah,
so Anne Ludwig called me in to read for Lamont Warwick, and that was the only character she had me read for. Strangely, because the other games that I've worked on, I definitely did 2 to 3 or more voices. So this one, I felt like a star. I could come in and just focus on one character. And she wanted a real, hearty Cajun accent for him. So I really just made him hospitable. I've studied a lot of Tennessee Williams in school, and so I have a certain a Southern dialect in my head. And so that's what I went for. I think Lamont's dialect, certainly as a grown-up now, I would look back and think, well, you could have been a little more Cajun, but I did my best at the time. And she really liked that, and so we went in and we recorded it.
I really like the atmosphere to that specific game because I've never been to New Orleans. I've only heard about how extraordinary the food is and the the atmosphere itself. So have you ever been to New Orleans or?
Yes. Actually, I had been already. I went shortly after college. I went down. It was this was pre-Katrina, and I didn't go down during Mardi Gras. That's too many people for me. But I caught it at just such a beautiful time of year. I think it was the spring, and going through the French Quarter, it just has that real magical, otherworldly feel. It's crazy to think that you're still in the United States because it feels like you're somewhere else. The architecture, of course, is so old, and you walk through the Garden District and look at all these amazing homes. The author Anne Rice, I'm not sure if she still has a home down there, but she did at the time. So I kind of stalked Anne Rice's house and just looked at her house. It's just amazing stuff, really cool stuff. But yeah, the food, gumbo, Creole, Cajun food is just delicious. They cook everything with crawfish. Crawfish is a staple protein in a lot of their diet. So I tried crawfish everything. It's a particular taste, let me tell you. It's it's not like chicken. It's a little gamier than chicken, but it's delicious, and you can have it in anything. So crawfish etouffee, as I recall, was my favorite dish down there. But speaking for Lamont, he likes a good gumbo. I recall recording that sneezing bit. Anne literally had me sneeze in all sorts of variations for a good 20 minutes. And it was just funny. By the end of it, we were just rolling laughing. He does end up being a pretty nice, benevolent character. But I know they wanted that ambiguity at first, and to throw in some red herrings here or there and make it more interesting for the player.
It was one of those first games where Nancy could not get to certain locations, and her friends had to help her on that path and that journey. So did you ever get to meet the voiceover actors or actresses from those 2 particular games at any point?
Well, not Legend of the Crystal Skull. I did know, of course, Sarah Papineau working on Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon. And I didn't know him at the time, but would later come to work with him. But Wayne Raleigh, who played Frank Hardy in Last Train, amazing playwright and director and actor himself. And so years later, I came to work with him on a play. And it's such a tight-knit small community in Seattle. You think of Seattle as a big city, but it really is a pretty small town when it comes to the arts. Everyone gets a chance to work with everyone at some point. And so looking back on all the titles, like over the years, all the actors who worked on Nancy Drew, at some point, most of them I have at least met, if not worked with, which is kind of cool. I thought the music, especially in Legend of the Crystal Skull, was spot on. It's just, you go to New Orleans and there's music everywhere. There's buskers on the street playing music. There's the clubs playing music. So you walk by and it's jazz, it's blues, it's rock in that game. You definitely get that New Orleans vibe.
Have you played any of the other games? Like, were there any games that you played that were like, I've never been there before, but I really like this destination that Nancy got to solve another mystery at?
I did play a little bit of Lights, Camera, Curses, which, the dossier game. And I think that was the first game that they put online. So it was kind of an experiment for them to put it online, and I think they partnered with Big Fish Games. And so I worked on that one, but I worked on, I think, what ultimately was the demo or spec that Her Interactive showed to Big Fish. So ultimately, sadly, I was not in the final cut of the game. But the flip side of that is I got to voice almost every single character in the spec. So it was a really great, rigorous exercise as a voice actor. And playing the game, looking at it, it just has a very polished feel to it. You could see the artwork definitely popped in that. And it had that cool like 1930s, 1940s Hollywood soundstage, big movie production set kind of feel. Because that's where it takes place. And the Egyptian hieroglyphics and artwork that they used in that game were really cool. So yeah, I played it a little bit, but I myself am a very modest gamer. I used to be much more into video games in grade school and early college years. I don't think I'm the best of gamers, but I have enjoyed playing the Nancy Drew games. Specifically for the environments that they create and the story and the characters. And I think the sound design is typically really good.
And it doesn't seem like it's been a while since Crystal Skull. I'm like, was that almost 7-8 years ago? What?
I know. It's a blink of the eye that time has flashed so fast.
I know. Well, what other projects are you currently working on that our listeners can go ahead and check out?
Yeah, well, my most recent project, I can't get too into for confidentiality reasons, but I can at least tell you that I was working with the Grammy Award producer, DJ Ryan Lewis, better half of Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, on a voiceover job he is coming out with an ICO, a company called Red Pen, but that's about all I can say. So it was a recording session that I did with him, and I got to work with him in the booth for an hour, which was really crazy. I have not worked with many celebrities before, so I had to, like, in my head, keep telling myself, just be cool, it's okay. He's just a person like everyone else. But that was fun. I was on Grimm in its third season in one episode. And I'm working on directing a podcast comedy series with a group of friends of mine. It's called Lexica Inc. And I don't know if you ever saw the television series Better Off Ted, but it was about this crazy corporation that sort of is a Procter and Gamble. They have a big research and development department, and it's kind of a crazy, sprawling corporation that nobody really knows exactly what they do. A very satirical kind of show. And this podcast comedy series will explore that kind of universe in today's world. I mean, it's also fun, when you find a group of people that you just sync with, that you bring out the best in each other in terms of when you are playing, improvising, playing character voices. And so this is a group of people that we've worked together over the years, and I'm very much looking forward to working with too. A lot of voiceover happens just in the booth with the producer or writer or sound engineer, and it can be kind of lonely sometimes. You're really working directly with those individuals, so you're not exactly alone. But this particular comedy series that we're going to be working on, we'll be doing group recordings where we'll have several actors in the same room, which is not something I encounter very often in voiceover.
That's right.
Yeah. It's a joy when you get that, because you have that opportunity to really work off of each other's energy and really be engaged with one another. Whereas if you're recording solo, you might hear the producer might play the lines for you so you can get a sense of who that other person is, or they might not, because they might not have recorded those lines just yet. So you're really relying on the producer or writer who knows how you should be responding in that regard. So anyway, it's two different styles of working. I like both, but it's definitely a joy to have more people in the room and be able to engage.
Well, you have a website, right, that our listeners can go to check out more of what you've done? Yeah,
you can go to sharpactor.com, and that's SharpActor.com. And that has some video as well as audio that I've done, and all my latest credits.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Jason. This was fun, and I have one more question for you, which is if you could describe your experience working with Her Interactive and being a part of the Nancy Drew universe using one word, what would that be?
Mysterious.